All right, let's take a look at acids and bases. So in this, we do have some concepts like pH in particular, as well as buffers, and then we get into some math problems that you could face here. So let's see, we have these questions, and we'll have them again at the end of the video. Coffee is fairly acidic. What would you guess the pH level of coffee to be? Buffers are made when you mix a weak acid with what? If a substance has a pH of 3 and turns litmus paper red, what do we know about this substance? So we need to be familiar with litmus paper. And then finally, what is the pH of a substance with 0.0013? And there should be an M there, right? Forgot about the M. Okay, introduction. So the pH scale goes from 0 to 14. Anything between 0 and 7 is acidic. Anything above 7 is basic, or also called alkaline. Exactly 7 is considered neutral. So 2.5 would be very acidic. On average, the pH level of coffee would be expected to be somewhere around 4.5. And so, right, that's an answer to one of our questions. They asked about coffee. Litmus paper, red is acidic, blue is basic, right? So litmus paper helps us be able to recognize acidic versus basic. Acids have a sour taste, have a pH less than 7. Sorry, got ahead of myself there. Acids have a sour taste, pH less than 7, and produce hydrogen ions when dissolved in water, while bases have a bitter taste, pH greater than 7, and they release hydroxide ions as opposed to hydrogen ions when dissolved in water. Bases also accept hydrogen ions from acids. Remember that pH is related to the balance of hydrogen and hydroxide ions. A pH below 7 represents an excess of hydrogen ions. Also, a pH above 7 represents an excess of OH ions. Weak acids and weak bases are only partially ionized in water. Weak acids and weak bases make excellent buffers, or substances that don't easily change their pH even when acids or bases are added to them. Buffers are made when you mix a weak acid with its weak base conjugate. Acids donate hydrogen ions and bases accept this hydrogen ion. So the acid that donates a hydrogen ion and the base that accepts that ion are known as conjugates. The acid donates hydrogen ions, but instead of lowering the pH, these ions get neutralized by the hydroxide ions in the weak base. Okay, and then a little bit of math. Okay, so here's a first question, right? Very similar to one of our questions we saw at the beginning. What is the pH of a substance with 0.00235 M? So you're going to need a calculator for these types of problems, which is provided. The formula is just the negative log of M. So therefore, we just plug in 0.00235 for M, and then we multiply it, so negative log times 0.00235, and that results in an answer of 2.63. So really, we just need to know the pretty simple process there, and you get the right answer. Okay, so on this one, if pH is at 5.2, what does pOH equal? And so we just want to know that when we add these two together, we get 14, right? And so if we know that if the pH is 5.2, you're just basically subtracting that 5.2 from 14, and that gives us an answer of 8.8. And the last one here, given that hydrogen has a molecular mass of about 1, oxygen has a molecular mass of a little more than 16, what is the mass in grams of 9.2 of water? Okay, and so then when we combine the molecular mass of hydrogen and oxygen, we're going to get approximately 18 grams, right? Just recognize that it says molecular mass of about 1, molecular mass of a little more than 16. So we know it's certainly more than 17, so we're just rounding it to somewhere around 18 because that's all the information we have to work with, right? And then we're just going 18 times 9.2 equals 165.6 grams. And since we estimated, we're just looking for some answer when there are answer choices of somewhere right in that 165 grams. There shouldn't be anything that's really close to that, so you'll have one answer that really works for you. And that gets us to jump back into our initial questions, right? And so we went over all 4 of these concepts. And so now you'd be able to test yourself out and see how you do on these questions.